Hi everybody, AnAdmission here. Hope you're all having a great Thanksgiving. I have a bet with a friend of mine as to whether Trump is going to finish his term in the White House. He thinks that Trump will quit so that Mike Pence can pardon him. I think Trump is going to stay in office and pardon himself, even though it's doubtful that that pardon would stand up in court. The Constitution makes no mention of a president pardoning himself, and though it does not expressly forbid it, the language in that law implies that the pardon power applies to third persons and not to the president himself. Allowing a president to be able to pardon himself would essentially give him a carte blanche to commit all kinds of crimes while in office, knowing that he could get off scot-free. And there's no way that the Founding Fathers would have intended to do that. But since Trump has 3 appointees on the Supreme Court, it's impossible to predict how the Supreme Court would rule on that. It would be a terrible precedent for the court to set. I'm sure Trump has been advised by his legal team that a self-pardon has a very good chance of being overturned by the courts. But we all know that Trump doesn't like taking advice from experts, and that once he gets an idea in his head, it doesn't matter what he's told or what the facts are. If Trump believes something, he becomes convinced it must be so. Now, Trump has already pardoned Mike Flynn, will probably pardon his children and son-in-law, and many of his cabinet and White House staff and advisors, who have all engaged in criminal activity on Trump's behalf. And Trump may pardon some of them, but since Trump doesn't feel any particular loyalty to anybody except himself, he might not bother to pardon everybody who has committed crimes for him. For example, Jeff Sessions. Sessions could face criminal charges for some of the things that he did as Trump's Attorney General. But since Trump was angry at Sessions when he fired him and still holds a grudge, Trump is not going to pardon him, even though an investigation into Sessions' crimes will inevitably lead to Trump. And there is a danger for Trump in pardoning people. Now, for example, Mike Flynn, he's pardoned him. Well, a person who is pardoned loses his right to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination, because he can't be incriminated for a crime he's been pardoned for. So an FBI agent or a prosecutor can bring those people in and question them about the crimes they've been pardoned for, and they can't refuse to answer them. That's obstruction of justice, and they have to tell the truth or face perjury charges, because the pardon only applies to crimes that have already been committed and not to future crimes. So Trump could pardon himself or accept a pardon from Pence and then find himself in a prosecutor's office without the ability to invoke the Fifth Amendment and would have to speak truthfully about his crimes. And Trump has talked about running for president in 2024. If he pardons himself or accepts a pardon, legally he is admitting that he committed crimes while in office. And that would be a powerful weapon to use against him and the entire Republican Party for years to come. Now, when Joe Biden was asked about going after Trump, he said he would not direct the DOJ to do that. But he also talked about restoring the integrity and independence of the department, which means that he won't tell them not to. If they decide to go after Trump, Biden will just stay out of it. And of course, the pardon will only apply to federal crimes, and Trump is facing criminal charges in New York State, which could lead to criminal charges in other states. They will simply watch what happens in New York and then take a look at Trump's businesses in their states. And those investigations could also reveal crimes in foreign countries where Trump has business interests. So he might face criminal charges in countries that you really don't want to go to jail in. So life for Trump is going to become very complicated and difficult once he leaves office. And he might come to regret ever being President of the United States as much as many of us do. Thanks for listening.